Compared to others, where do you stand? Taller, shorter, dumber, smarter, less successful, more successful. Maybe some of these you've thought about, and maybe some you haven't. Everyone has different scales they like to measure themselves on. But what happens when you aren't looking at the right scales? Or, more importantly, what happens when the people you compare yourself to are your friends? Let This Grieving Soul Retire is a silly anime. At first glance, it seems like an underdog story, but it's a lot more powerful than that. Sure, there's always that great feeling when you see a seemingly nobody become someone great, and it lets you think something like, that could totally be me, just no one's found me yet. But lo and behold, life rarely works out that way. So I've never really been a fan of an underdog story, and that's why I appreciate this show. It starts with a group of young friends, whose bond would take anyone back to their childhood. These friends shared everything, and had one goal in mind: to become the greatest adventurers ever known. Since this is a fantasy story, they actually managed to achieve their dream, but it wasn't handed to them. They worked hard, training and falling into the roles within their party. This synergy came naturally because they knew each other inside and out, allowing them to work well together. They quickly became skilled adventurers, with each member excelling to the point that no one could rival them. They didn't just grasp their goal, they went far beyond it, practically becoming inhuman. Well, all of them except Cry. As Cry watched his friends grow stronger, faster, and smarter, he stayed the same. No matter how much effort he put in, he remained ordinary. As the party took on increasingly dangerous quests to challenge themselves, Cry felt like he was being dragged along. These were missions that would instantly kill anyone without extraordinary strength, and Cry knew that included him. So the next logical step was for him to leave the party before he started to hold them back, or worse, got killed. But before he could, his friends beat him to the punch. But they didn't ask him to leave. Instead, they asked him to be their leader. While he might have thought this was out of pity, he completely forgot how well his friends knew him and exactly what role he fell into. Let's jump forward a little. Now they're older, and they founded the greatest, most prestigious guild ever created. And Cry remains the leader, but not just of his friends' guild, but the next greatest guild as well. He's known far and wide as the most powerful adventurer of all time. People either fear or revere him. But Cry still sees himself as the same ordinary guy who doesn't deserve any of it. In his mind, it's all a trick, a misunderstanding. He thinks his friends pity him, and that everyone else has been fooled into believing he's something he's not. Sure, a lot of what happens to Cry seems like luck. He's often in the right place at the right time, and things just happen to work out. But that's missing the point. Every action Cry takes is driven by his love and concern for others. When he shows up at the perfect moment to save the day, it's not because he's trying to prove something. It's because he genuinely cares. This is why his friends chose him to be their leader. They didn't need another warrior or mage. They needed someone who could encourage them, guide them, and hold them together. Cry couldn't see it, but his friends did. They valued him not for his strength, but for his heart. They understood that having someone who truly loves and supports you in your corner is far more powerful than fighting alongside the strongest stranger. It's so easy to get caught up in the highlight reels of other people's lives. Their successes, their talents, their seemingly perfect achievements. We compare ourselves to them, and it can twist relationships into competitions, and friends into enemies. But friendships aren't about who's better, stronger, or smarter. Instead of putting others on a scale to measure yourself against them, maybe it's time to ditch the scale altogether and redefine how you see progress. Look at life as your own journey, where there's no one ahead of you or behind you. The only thing you can measure yourself with is your own progress. As you walk this path, you'll start to see what you're great at and where you struggle. Not by trying to be someone else, but by embracing the unique qualities that make you, you. Just like Cry's friends, true relationships value authenticity over ability. It's a lesson we all can learn. If Cry could see his journey this way, he'd start to recognize his own worth. He'd realize that the love his friends have for him isn't misplaced or naive. True friendships aren't about what you can offer. They're about showing up, staying present, and being genuine. He would also understand that he wasn't left behind when his party began training. He grew alongside them, finding his own place as a leader with a unique set of skills. Ultimately, this anime just isn't about Cry. It reminds us not to underestimate the power of our connections, or the importance of simply being who you are. Relationships thrive not in competition, but on kindness, sincerity, and a shared growth. Pry may not have realized it yet, but his own journey shows that what truly matters isn't how we measure up to others, but how we see ourselves and the bonds we forge with our friends. What about you? How do you see your friendships? Are they built on trust and support, or are they shadowed by comparison? This isn't an easy mindset to shift into. Or maybe it is. Let this story inspire you to reflect on yourself, examine the relationships you hold, and realize we all have worth by just being ourselves. So what if you stopped measuring your worth by others' scales? Your true friends aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for you. So next time you feel like you're falling behind, remember that you're the only person who can be you, and that in itself is enough to give you worth. I'm Advil, and I'll see you later.